I was saying, LATTIMORE, Rico from StreetScores, and the Washington Commanders received some pretty terrible news earlier today before this upcoming Falcons game for Sunday. I have big-time injury updates for both teams. Also, the Washington Commanders went out and signed a potential Dyami Brown replacement. We're going to dive into all of that and more, but of course, you got to know this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And before we get to everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for pulling up and supporting every video. I hope everybody had a very great holiday couple of days, man. I'm back with some videos, and of course I will be live streaming this upcoming Falcons game with them sorry little Falcons. Y'all know that's the team I hate the most more than anybody else, so I can't wait to beat them. So make sure you pull up for that live stream. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so the Washington Commanders, as of 4 p.m., already ruled out for this upcoming game on Sunday. Marshon Lattimore, wide receiver Dyami Brown, offensive tackle Andrew Wiley, linebacker Jordan McGee, and Tyler Owens. That's 3 starters and 2 kind of reserves. Let's talk about Marshon Lattimore first, because that one is probably going to be the most impactful. I mean, first of all, this makes already 2 games that he's played and 6 games that he's missed since we traded for him right before the trade deadline. And it seems like from all of the reporting that we're seeing right now that he re-aggravated the same hamstring that kept him out from those previous 6 games that he missed since we traded for him. That's the reason why he's out once again. He hasn't practiced all week. Remember, towards the end of that Eagles game, somewhere in the 4th quarter, we never saw him on the field again. And shouts out to A.J. Brown for giving Marshon Lattimore his big props. He was like, I won some, he won some. That was a great battle. So big shouts out to him and big salute to A.J. Brown for that respect right there. Marshon Lattimore definitely earned his respect, and I'm pretty sure A.J. Brown earned Marshon Lattimore's respect, because it definitely was a back and forth battle. Now, to the naked eye, from anybody just watching the game live, you would assume that A.J. Brown won that battle, but if you really go back and look at the tape, Marshon Lattimore mattered a lot in that game. Yeah, he got beat a few times, even for a touchdown, for a deep pass, and some other moments, but he mattered. You saw once Benjamin St-Juste had to come into the game that there was a difference in coverage. A.J. Brown seemed like he was open every time they wanted to throw him the ball. Now, granted, we do got to give him Benjamin St-Juste a little bit of credit for that shoestring tackle that he had on A.J. Brown that pretty much led to, that set up Devonta Smith's drop, which gave us the opportunity to go down and win the game. But ultimately, not having Marshon Lattimore will matter a lot to this defense. Being able to bring an additional defender down into the box because you trust Marshon Lattimore to just put him on an island with a receiver, that changes everything for the defense. That was allowing us to finally stop the run a little bit better halfway through the first quarter to finish out the game to shut down Saquon Barkley. We're going to need similar things against Bijan Robinson and that Falcons rushing attack with him and Algier this upcoming Sunday, man. We're going to need to really focus on stopping the run, but you can't neglect the coverage by focusing on stopping the run, and that's why having Marshon Lattimore is so important. So we're going to be without him. That is going to suck, but shouts out to We Want Dallas for pointing this out. I mean, he technically had 42 regular season games on his remaining contract with the Commanders once we traded for him. If he misses, well, he will miss Sunday against the Falcons. That means he would have already have been out for 12% and counting of the contract that we traded for. That's actually an interesting way to put it. I'm still happy that we traded for him. Hopefully, I'm just a glass half full, Mr. Optimistic type of person, so I'm hoping that he will no longer have to miss a bunch of games in the future. I mean, we're more than likely going to sit him against the Cowboys no matter what, even because we don't even want to risk it going into the playoffs. But hopefully beyond that, playoffs, 2024 playoffs and beyond, he stops missing games. Hopefully it all works out. I'm still happy that we traded for him, but it is really annoying that he's missed so many games. He already missed 6, then he came back for 2. Now he's about to miss more than likely another 2 to finish the regular season. And then Dan Quinn already addressed it in his press conference. He said that in the scenario that Marshon Lattimore is ruled out, which has already been officially done, but he said this a minute ago. He said that both Benjamin St-Juste and Michael Davis will take snaps into his place, because remember, Marshon Lattimore, since he has finally played for us, plays more snaps than any other corner on our team. It was I think against the Saints, it was like Marshon Lattimore 53, then Mike Sanford still 50. Then Noah Benogany had like 30 something. Benjamin St-Juste had like 3. That's typically how it's pretty much gone, except for against the Eagles when he got hurt. That Benjamin St-Juste had to come in and play more than what we originally expected coming into that game. My point is, Marshon Lattimore has been eating up the majority of the snaps, more snaps than any other corner on the team, even including a guy like Mike Sanford still. With him gone, it's not going to be like Benjamin St-Juste directly replaces him. Everybody's going to start to get more snaps, but that also means that Michael Davis will go from 0 snaps to a few. Benjamin St-Juste will go from a few to way more, and then Mike Sanford still and Noah Benogany will probably continue to play a lot of snaps like they typically do as well. And with us having to go up against Drake London, and even though he's still underperforming, he's still very athletic, and Kyle Pitts, this is a cause for concern. I'm definitely worried about our cornerback situation. I'm hoping Benjamin St-Juste comes out and finally has the best game of his life or something like that, because we're probably going to need it. Now, I trust our offense to go out there and put up more points against the Falcons than the Falcons offense can put up against our defense, but it would still be very nice for our defense to step up big time against the Falcons, shut down Michael Penix. He's still an inexperienced rookie. He looked good in his first game, but he didn't face a defense like this yet, where we're sending Frankie Louisville and Bobby Wagner at him on blitzes. Dante Fowler's having a fantastic year. And then even without Marshon Lattimore, I mean, maybe this coverage can figure it out. Joe Wood Jr. can scheme some things up, and we can confuse this rookie quarterback, send blitzes at him a lot, and maybe throw him off of his game a little bit, force him to use his legs more than he would like to. He's actually way more athletic than what people give him credit for, but he himself limits himself. It's like he doesn't give himself credit. That boy Michael Penix does not like to run, even though he actually can. But hopefully we can take advantage of that, keeping him in the pocket, blitz him a lot, throw off his timing, you know, to the point where like our cornerback coverage, you know, it would be nice if it's great, but hopefully we could throw him off so much that he's missing open receivers even when they are open, or we're blitzing him to the point that he can't even get the ball out of his hands and he's ended up getting sacked, or he's under pressure constantly. We just need to go with the strategy of throw Michael Penix off of his game, make sure he can't do good things, and then that will basically force the receivers to end up being null and void in that game. Because right now, if I had to choose between matchups, their receivers and our corners, especially with Marshon Lattimore out, I would lean towards the Falcons receivers, especially with Bijan Robinson out of the backfield and all of that type of stuff. But hopefully we can sit down and figure this out. And then shouts out to Resh Manuel, because he tweeted that my guess is that Michael Davis sees more snaps on defense than even Benjamin St-Juste. That's really interesting. He also thinks that Chris Moore will get called up off the practice squad. You may not know exactly who that is yet. We're going to get to that in the second half of the video. Before we even get there, though, take a look at this injury report for both the Commanders and the Falcons. So again, the Commanders ruled out 3 starters in Marshon Lattimore, technically Dyami Brown and Andrew Wiley, but also 2 key special teamers in Jordan McGee and Tyler Owens. Jordan McGee has even been playing on defense quite a bit. So that's not even necessarily a starter, but he's also not just a pure special teamer. He's somewhere in the middle. So his impact not being out there will be felt. Also, it seems like KJ Osborne is more likely to finally make his debut for the Washington Commanders after we traded for him. Well, actually, we didn't even trade for him. We signed him after the Patriots released him because they split part mutually. The Patriots were going nowhere with their season. It's like we might as well. And KJ Osborne wanted up out of there real bad. So, you know, we acquired him from the Patriots, but they technically just cut him, and then we picked him up immediately. But it seems like he'll finally make his debut. After signing him, he missed the first 2 games, both against the Saints and the Eagles. Different from Noah Brown. We signed Noah Brown right before the Buccaneers game. He missed that game, but then he played against the Giants, and he didn't play a lot, but he still meant a lot to that game. He was one of the main reasons we won that game, especially in the second half where he started to make plays over the middle, catching passes from Jaden Daniels. So it's a little weird that KJ Osborne had to miss 2 games where Noah Brown only had to miss 1. That is a cause for concern, but hopefully he picks up the offense immediately, and hopefully he can go out there and finally contribute for us against the Falcons. Because if I had to choose between KJ, before this season started especially, going all the way back to say like March of 2024, if you told me to choose between Noah Brown and KJ Osborne, I would pick KJ Osborne. So I feel like he has the potential to be an even better receiver for this offense than even Noah Brown was. But Noah Brown has shown us that he can not only perform in this offense, even though he had some drop passes, the game-winning Hail Mary catch against the Bears. He's had some clutch moments for us this season, and he's even drawn a bunch of pass interferences before he ended up getting hurt. And it only took him 1 game to pick up the offense, whereas KJ Osborne has already missed 2, and hopefully he can pick it up in the third game. It's probably going to take him 2 games, hopefully. So right now it's not looking too good as far as preferring KJ Osborne over Noah Brown, but hopefully when he gets out onto that field against the Falcons, he steps up big time and balls out against those guys. And then also, as far as the questionables go, Dan Quinn already said that the team won't make any determinations on the 2 questionable players based on whether or not they can clinch a playoff spot before kickoff. That's interesting. So they're not going to just leave it up to the fact that, oh, we already clinched a playoff spot before we even got to go out there and play against the Falcons, because there's some games happening at 1 p.m. that, you know, if certain teams lose, we already make it to the playoffs definitively, whether we beat the Falcons or the Cowboys or not. It doesn't even matter. But Dan Quinn is basically saying that those things won't affect whether guys like Jonathan Allen and Marcus Mariota will be available for this game. And I don't know what's going on with Marcus Mariota, because it's something personal. He missed Wednesday. Wednesday he was good to go. Then suddenly Thursday and Friday he missed practice due to that personal thing. So that does have me concerned. You know, prayers out to him, whatever's going on. That's an interesting questionable right there, because he's questionable because of, like, mentally, emotionally, probably not necessarily physically. But then again, you have Jonathan Allen coming back from a pectoral injury way sooner than a lot of people originally expected after he hurt himself against the Ravens. He's questionable as well. We'll see if he plays. That would be a pretty big boost for us if Jonathan Allen plays up the middle to stop that run against Bijan Robinson. So, hey man, KJ Osborne, it's your time to finally play, and not only just play, but have a serious impact for us. And also, Olamide Zaccheaus, hey, shouts out to him. Back-to-back revenge games against his former team, the Eagles. Last week had 2 touchdowns. Hopefully he can do something like that against the Falcons this week. If Olamide Zaccheaus can go back-to-back games, back-to-back revenge games with back-to-back 2 touchdown games, we're more than likely going to win this game. So let's hope that Olamide Zaccheaus could do what he did against the Eagles, against his other former team, the Falcons. But also, don't forget Andrew Wiley. Don't sleep on him, though. That's your starting right tackle for a reason. And I know a lot of people are bigger fans of Cornelius Lucas over Andrew Wiley, but Wiley getting hurt is still a negative either way, because even best case scenario for us, now you have less depth on the offensive line, and if either Brandon Coleman or Cornelius Lucas gets hurt, now we don't have Andrew Wiley that can step in for us. But now, luckily for us, if there was one defensive line that we faced all season that we could afford to lose some starting offensive linemen and still not have to worry about Jada Daniels getting hit a lot during that game, it would probably be this Falcons defensive line that we're about to go up against this Sunday, man, because they don't rush the passer very well at all, especially compared to who we just played in the Eagles defensive line, the Saints defensive line, and even the game before that, the Titans defensive line, where we still balled out against them and put up a bunch of points. Those are 3 really, really good, like top 5 defensive lines in the NFL that we've played 3 weeks straight with a bye week in between. That Falcons defensive line is definitely not top 5, not even honestly top half of the NFL. So we kind of caught a break there, but we still got to see how these matchups work out. Also, don't sleep on my boy Tyler Owens as well, man. He's been a menace on special teams coverage for us when healthy. That man had 2 big hits against the Eagles alone just this past Sunday. He's always making plays on special teams, so he will be missed as well. But at least we still have Nick Bellore, who is a team captain this week. We're going to talk about team captains towards the end of this video. We still have Jeremy Reeves, Percy Butler, and a few other standout special teams coverage guys that make excellent tackles in the open field, lays big hits on people, that gives our defense a little bit of energy to go out into the field with. But not having Tyler Owens is still a loss. It still will impact the game, but I'm very confident that a lot of the other really good special teams guys we have will step up in his place. And then also, I'm just annoyed by the Jordan McGee injury, because he was just on injury reserve to start the season for like the first 9 weeks. And then we finally get him, but then he's playing only sparingly. He's getting like a few snaps per game, but not enough to really have an impact. And then just as his snaps start to increase to the point that he is having an impact on games, he's hurt again, which also sets back his development. And that's my biggest concern, because right now, Jordan McGee was not going to be, more than likely would not be a game changer versus the Falcons immediately. More than likely not. But the more he plays now, the better he'll be for us in the future, especially like next year wise and beyond, because Bobby Wagner's only getting older. And I would hope that Jordan McGee can be one of the guys that steps up in his place, that will play meaningful snaps and have the same similar impact that Bobby Wagner's had for us this season. Am I expecting Jordan McGee to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, just purely just a direct replacement to Bobby Wagner? Not necessarily, but I'm hoping Jordan McGee can be a part of the committee that makes up for the potential loss of Bobby Wagner if he's not ready to go next season. Because a lot of people were think he should have retired 2 years ago. Then when we signed him this year, some people felt like, nah, there's no way he still has it in him. And so it's not looking very likely that he'll come back next year or even be as good as he was this year next year, even if he does come back. So we'll have to see what happens there. But Jordan McGee, the more he plays, the sooner the better, because that's our long-term solution at linebacker right there. Also, it's not just bad for us, though. I feel like it's a good time to take a break from the Commanders just for a little bit and talk about the fact that the Eagles have already ruled out quarterback Jalen Hurts for Sunday's game against the Dallas Cowboys, and they've been playing some good ball. They just won a game last week that they had no business winning against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were very desperate and needed to win that game to have a chance to make the playoffs. So don't sleep on the Cowboys because you're just assuming that the Buccaneers didn't take that game seriously. No, they were very desperate for that game. That was probably one of the games they wanted to win the most this season, and the Cowboys still found a way to win that game. So the Eagles without Jalen Hurts, don't sleep. The Cowboys may win that. Kenny Pickett has already been announced that he will replace Jalen Hurts versus the Cowboys, but even he's banged up. He's been dealing with rib injuries. I've been seeing reports from Eagles reporters this week that, with Jalen Hurts missing every day of practice, so we already kind of knew days ago that he more than likely wouldn't play against the Cowboys, finally being ruled out with a concussion against us. Should have been ruled out the previous time we played them, but they forced him back in there. He was all woozy. They still ended up winning the game in spite of him, honestly, but now he's finally out after really suffering a concussion, officially going into concussion protocol. But all week, I've been seeing like Kenny Pickett wrapped up just like how Jaden Daniels was from the rib injury and things like that. So Kenny Pickett, even if he does start for the Eagles, which more than likely will happen, he's not too healthy either. So if the Commanders beat the Falcons Sunday Night Football and the Cowboys beat the Eagles without Jalen Hurts, hey man, that NFC title will be in play for week 18. I mean, even without Jalen Hurts, I don't see how the Eagles lose to the New York Giants, especially since they're trying to go for that number 1 overall pick to potentially go and get like Shadir Sanders. So they're probably tanking. They probably don't even want to beat the Eagles. And so even without Jalen Hurts, I don't see the Eagles beating against the Giants, but a man can dream. If we finish out these last 2 games with wins, the Eagles without Jalen Hurts, especially this Sunday, the second to last game, they lose their last 2 games. We actually end up with the number 2 seed and win the division. That would actually be really amazing, man. Or at least, even if it's not the number 2 seed, it's one of those top seeds to where we're not one of the wild card games. At least we get a home field advantage in the wild card game to start the season, start the playoffs. Also, Dan Quinn did say that he's optimistic about Jonathan Allen being activated for Sunday. Again, he's questionable right now, but he said that Jonathan Allen had a very good week of practice. And again, if you're looking at the injury report, like I showed y'all earlier, that man practiced in full all week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I believe he should be good to go. Dan Quinn said that he, Adam Peters, and a lot of others will meet later on today, December 27th, to discuss the various injury statuses that they have going on, and maybe we'll know by Saturday afternoon whether Jonathan Allen will play. And Ian Rappaport even tweeted, getting Jonathan Allen back this week has been the plan. So even he's taking notice of the Jonathan Allen injury. That lets you know that this is pretty big news right here. And then also, shouts out to John Kahn for pointing out the fact that Jonathan Allen is listed as questionable for Sunday. He still has to be activated off injured reserve, though, right now. He's still technically on the injured reserve, but everything is pointed towards him playing Sunday, but still nothing yet official. And a move has to be made by 4 p.m. Saturday in addition to a corresponding cut. Because right now we are full 53-man roster without Jonathan Allen. If we want him to play, which you'll more than likely do against the Falcons, we have to cut somebody to make room for him on the 53-man roster. And I'm not going to lie. Sounds like Fadarian Mathis to the practice squad to me. I mean, I like some of the flashes I saw from him this season, but he's never going to live up to that second round selection that he was drafted. I'm Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew, boy. And this coaching staff, this current one right now, unlike the other one, doesn't seem to really like him much either, because even without Jonathan Allen being available, with him being out since week 6 against the Ravens or whatever week that was, Mathis has been a healthy scratch for the last few games. He's been fully healthy, no injuries, and has not played the last few games for us, even with guys like Sheldon Day and Carl Davis, who we signed off the street, coming into play over him. So this coaching staff does not like him much at all. So I would assume when you add Jonathan Allen to the official 53-man roster, you're probably moving Fadarian Mathis to the practice squad. You're probably just cutting them just straight up. We'll see. And then on the Falcons side, of course, with the injury report, it's not good for them that they have two corners out. One with the quad injury, the other one with a concussion, and Antonio Hamilton Sr. and Kevin King. That's not looking really good for those guys. But everybody else seems to be good to go. Tight end Charlie Warner's good. Wide receiver Kadero Hodge. Outside linebacker Lorenzo Carter. Tight end Ross Dwelly. Defensive lineman Zach Harrison. Wide receiver Drake London. That one sucks for us. And wide receiver Casey Washington are all good to go from what it seems. None of them are questionable or anything like that. So we are definitely the more banged up team right here for sure, but getting Jonathan Allen back, hopefully with KJ Osborne finally playing for us, that should be big time for us as well. And then even with the Falcons' lack of injuries and with us having several key injuries, I still feel confident about our chances of beating them, especially at home and outside in real weather conditions with no dome. I'm gonna tell you right now, Atlanta is way warmer than what it probably is up there in DC. It's been pretty cold and Christmas was really cold, but in general, you know, it's not as the Falcons, I don't think they're necessarily ready for what they're gonna have to deal with at night in DC, having to travel up 7, 8 hours, 10 hours, depending on how you drive north of where Atlanta is. I mean, of course they're flying, but I'm just talking about driving wise, hours wise. That, I mean, those are completely different conditions. I think we're going to catch them lacking with that cold. And Jaden Daniels already shown that he can play well in the cold like he did against the Eagles. I'm really confident in our chances of beating the Falcons, even with the injuries that we have. And then shouts out to my boy Mike Hall over there at the Burgundy Zone podcast, because he brings up a great point. It's a funny point, but it's a good point. Who would have thought after the first 2-3 years that we get to the point of saying that Dyami Brown being out is going to be a hit to the offense? And that, I mean, I guess that's a good and a bad thing. The fact that we care about Dyami Brown being out to where we even like, dang, what are we going to do? That's a great thing for Dyami Brown and the fact that he matters that much to this offense. But of course, it's a bad thing not having him. But before we even dive into our potential Dyami Brown replacement that we signed just a couple of days ago, we're going to break that down soon. But before we do, I'm here to tell y'all that this show is provided by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And if you're looking for a new sports book, it should be BetUS for sure. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry, and I know y'all want y'all money fast. And right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE150. And they also have a fast and easy with deposit and withdrawal process, so it's really like, why not? Now let's go ahead and dive into their website directly and see what bets we can get into. See where we can get some money off of, man. Well, looking at their website, if you're thinking that the Washington Commanders, out of every team that's playing on Sunday, not the teams that played on Wednesday, nor Thursday, or even Monday, or even Saturday, if we're talking about just purely the teams playing on Sunday, if you believe that the Washington Commanders can end up scoring more points than anybody else, man, that's plus 600 odds tied with the Philadelphia Eagles, even without Jalen Hurts. So that's interesting. But you have the Buffalo Bills, who right now, tied with the Buccaneers, are the highest estimated odds of scoring the most points. So I guess they think that the Bills and Buccaneers are about to ball out on Sunday and go crazy. But the Commanders are right behind them, tied with the Eagles at plus 600 odds. So if you wanted to put a bet on that, say you wanted to put down $50 on that bet, you could end up winning $300 by the end of that Commanders-Falcons game. Again, if the Commanders end up scoring more points than any other team that plays on Sunday, specifically Sunday only, December 29th only. But of course, y'all already know, man, I'm gonna scream at y'all to please make sure y'all gamble responsibly. And before we get back to the second half of this video, make sure y'all remember that, again, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE150. And of course, again, I'm always screaming at y'all to please gamble responsibly. Now let's get to the second half of this video, man. Now let's dive into it. This happened a couple of days ago, but I've been so busy I haven't been able to get a video out for the last couple of days, if y'all have seen, but now I'm back. But either way, a couple of days ago, or I guess it was yesterday, it felt like it was a couple of days ago, man. I've been all over the place. I've been so busy. December 26th feels like it was days ago. But either way, the Commanders signed wide receiver Chris Moore to the practice squad. He is a 9-year veteran. His last stop was 5 games in Arizona this year, but he had no targets nor any receptions at all. And also, Terry has an ankle injury, so just be on the lookout for that. He's good to go, as we saw in the injury report, but that is something to watch out for. And just to let you know, Chris Moore is wearing number 19. That was last worn by Noah Benogany before he switched to number 1 for this season. You know, Mike Sanders still came and got his number 0 from Marcus Mariota. Noah Benogany went and got number 1 after it was available, after we traded away Jahan Dotson. And then now that 19 was just sitting there. So Chris Moore said, give me that one. Also, as you can see on the screen right here, he was practicing with the team yesterday. Again, he was with Arizona earlier this year. He played in 5 games, but still did not get any targets nor receptions. And he last played for the Titans in 2023, in which he played all 17 games and recorded 22 receptions for 424 yards. So the last time he's had an impact, because he was with the Cardinals earlier this season, but didn't have an impact. Last time he was actually like noticed on the field was when he had 424 yards for the Titans last year. Just to let you know, he's 31 years old, so this is not just some young gun that like we're hoping we could bring him in and maybe there's some potential still on tap. Now 31's not old, but you know, this is not like some young 24, 25-year-old that maybe there's something we could tap into. You never know. Maybe there is, but it's not very likely. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. He's from Tampa Bay, Florida. Went to college at Cincinnati. He got drafted in the 4th round, pick 107 overall in the 2016 draft by the Baltimore Ravens, and he was with the Ravens from 2016 all the way to 2020. Then he was with the Texans from 2021 through 2022, then the Titans in 2023, Cardinals 2024, and now with us on our practice squad. But don't be surprised if we end up actually bringing him up. Now, granted, KJ Osborne and Noah Brown had to at least miss 1 game each. KJ Osborne again missed 2 games after we signed them, but you never know. Chris Moore may step into a role where he may not need to know the offense as well as a KJ Osborne. Maybe we're bringing him in just to be a pure deep threat, and that's why I say maybe he's our Dyami Brown replacement. Well, not directly. Let's go ahead and get this out the way immediately. I'm not acting like we just went and signed Randy Moss off the free agency, off the couch or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. And even Dyami Brown wise, I'm not saying he's Dyami Brown, because Dyami Brown is not only your deep threat as we saw, he's also one of your better blocking wide receivers on the screen game, and then he's also easily your very best receiver in the screen game to be the one to actually get the ball. He has great vision. He has great agility. I love Terry McLaurin. I like Luke McCaffrey. It feels like he should get the ball more, but out of the backfield, yards after catch wise, Dyami Brown is our best receiver right now. So those are 3 niches that he has right there by himself. That, I mean, Terry McLaurin's also a really good deep ball artist for us right now, but Dyami Brown, great deep ball guy for us. You know, I feel like we need to utilize that more. He's one of our better blocking wide receivers, but the problem is, the reason you don't want him blocking as much is because he's also one of our better running receivers, and you want other guys to block for him. So not having him, you're missing 3 parts of your offense right there. But I feel like at least Chris Moore can come in and be somewhat of a deep threat for us immediately, even though he doesn't know the offense. And again, Noah Brown and KJ Osborne both had to miss at least 1 game after we signed them. But I mean, just running 9 routes all day, maybe Chris Moore can help that way. I don't exactly believe he'll immediately play against the Falcons, but if he does, it's simply because they're just asking him to run 9 routes all day, just run sprints, basically just run suicides all day and take the lid off of the defense. And hopefully that opens things underneath for Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, and hopefully KJ Osborne as well. But to compare Chris Moore to Dyami Brown, if you take a look at Dyami Brown's relative athletic score right here, a 7.71. And what's really holding him back is his small size. The relative athletic score feels like with him being 5'10", I guess, and 190 pounds, they felt like that's too small for a wide receiver. But at the same time, look at that bench press, 18. That is actually elite stuff, wide receiver wise. Really great, just no matter what position you honestly play. That's probably why he can block so well right there. That boy got some strong arms, and I didn't even necessarily notice that when we first drafted him. Well, I noticed it, but I didn't think it would immediately translate into him being a really good blocking wide receiver, but it did. And then his explosion from that broad jump is insane at a 1008 right there. That's absolutely insane. Then his 40-yard dash at 4.46. I mean, he may not necessarily be like a big burner, but that's still pretty fast. As you can see, that's green, and his 10 split is also green, but his agility is it's okay. Now to compare him to Chris Moore. Now Chris Moore didn't have as good of a bench press, and he also didn't run as fast of a 40-yard dash, running a 4.53, which is pretty average speed for a wide receiver, even though he's known as a deep threat. So maybe he just didn't test well on the field. He looks faster than that, but he is a bigger guy, 6'1", 206 pounds, so they gave him the edge on that. He also has really good explosion, just like Dyami Brown has, and then he's probably just as alright, maybe slightly better when it comes to agility and things like that. So, I mean, basically, I mean, you could argue just based on the fact that he's a 7.94 and Dyami Brown is a 7.71, maybe Chris Moore is slightly more athletic and maybe he can come in and immediately help us deep threat wise just off of the fact that he's athletic. Highly doubt it. Again, I already prefaced it with the fact that I'm not expecting Chris Moore to have an impact really necessarily at all for this team, especially not immediately against the Falcons this Sunday, but maybe they see him as a guy that with Dyami Brown hurt, maybe they're expecting him to be hurt long term, maybe they're grooming Chris Moore to be that replacement for Dyami Brown in the playoffs if Dyami Brown is not healthy enough to play for us in the playoffs. But do I expect him to play against the Falcons? No. Even if he does play against the Falcons, do I expect him to be really good for us and impactful? Not at all. But just to keep in mind, Dyami Brown may be a little bit more hurt than we think, and I think they signed Chris Moore as a Dyami Brown replacement, just like they signed KJ Osborne to be a Noah Brown replacement. We had to replace both Browns, and that's how we went about it. Also, again, I just want to remind y'all that Terry McLaurin was out quite a bit towards the end of that Eagles game, and he had some type of ankle injury that he had to deal with. He's been good in practice all week. We shouldn't have to worry about it, but Terry McLaurin is also somebody we need to worry about. He didn't participate in practice on Wednesday. He was limited on Thursday, and he was full today as in Friday, but still something to watch out for. Maybe another reason why we brought in Chris Moore. And then before we get up out of here, I have a few more things I want to add. Like, most importantly, the Sunday's Falcons versus Commanders game will mark the first time that Northwest Stadium will be able to use their go to dart during player introductions. So that's really cool. So for those of y'all that will be at the game, more than likely us watching the game may not be able to see it, but if you're at the stadium, again, the game is in Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland. It is a home game for us against the Falcons. The elements will be a part of the game, but also to start when we're doing player introductions, the intros for everybody, the stadium should be able to go dark, as according to Nikki Javala reporting that. Also, our team captains going into this Falcons game are Jaden Daniels, Frankie Louvu, and Nick Bellore. Now, again, it's time for Nick Bellore to step up, especially with my dog Tyler Owens being out. And then also Frankie Louvu did change the game against the Eagles last week with that interception that he got. That Joe Wood Jr., salute to him for calling up that play. That was definitely a play call from Joe Wood Jr. himself. But shouts out to Frankie Louvu for still making the play, because we were down 14-0 at that time, and they looked like they were coming down the field to maybe even at least kick a field goal to go up 17-0. But then Frankie Louvu intercepts the ball, and then we score a touchdown immediately after that to go down 14-7 instead of down 17-0. That was a big game-changing play right there. And then Jaden Daniels being the third captain, I mean, you could argue that he's honestly deserved to be team captain every single week this season. It's not only just being the starting quarterback that naturally would make you a captain, but also just he's been excellent. He's been a top 5 quarterback all season. So that's why it's really interesting to see that he's been given captain honors this week specifically. Like, why not all of the other weeks? Why this one specifically? But maybe it's because he broke the NFL record for Offensive Rookie of the Week awards that he's won, or maybe it's because he put the team on his back against the Eagles and put up the most points and passing touchdowns that the Eagles' #1 ranked defense has allowed all season to anybody, any offense, any quarterback. But he's broken records almost every week this season, so I'm wondering why they chose this week specifically to finally give him captain honors. But either way, I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he finally has captain honors. Also, like the video I did a few days ago at least, right before Christmas, remember when Dan Quinn had reportedly bought bats for every player with specific handwritten messages for everybody and things like that? Well, apparently he actually bought bats for everyone in the building. Shouts out to Ben Standig for updating that. That was bought for everybody, not even just a player. So that is incredible stuff from Dan Quinn. Let's get it. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, and still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. If you made it this far in the video, salute to you, man. I really appreciate you personally. Thank y'all, man. Shouts out to everybody. Make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything. Like, how you feel about our chances of beating the Falcons even without Marshawn Lattimore, Andrew Wiley, Jordan McGee, Dyami Brown, and Tyler Owens. Do you still feel confident going into that game? Let me know how y'all feel about all of that. Let me know how you feel about our potential replacement options. How do you feel about Chris Moore and us signing him? Do you feel like he's just going to be a nobody that never comes off of the practice squad? Or do you feel like this is somebody that can maybe even contribute as soon as that upcoming Cowboys game, this regular season finale? Let me know how you feel about him and him potentially being a Dyami Brown replacement until Dyami Brown is healthy again. Let me know how you feel about all of that. And of course, before we get up out of here, you got to remember that this video was sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And please make sure, if you don't do nothing else, please make sure you gamble responsibly. I really appreciate y'all. I'm going to catch y'all later. I'm out.